You know exactly what's going on. Evidence room logs. Your access card. 14 times in 2 months.
No.
Oh, my.
No. I was just...
Turn around. Hands behind your back.
What's up? It's your boy Stevie83, and I'm back with another react. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Dang.
The confrontation in that hallway
What'd he do?
would later be described by prosecutors as the moment a
Stole some
decorated
evidence.
police officer's double life came crashing down. For 2 years, Darnell Kendrick had been stealing seized narcotics from the Providence Police Department's evidence room.
Damn.
Fentanyl, oxycodone, cocaine. He sold them on the street through a network of contacts he had built during his time as a patrol officer. He thought he had the perfect system. He knew which evidence was scheduled for destruction. He knew how to manipulate the logs. He knew which cameras had blind spots. What he didn't know was that one of his buyers would overdose in a gas station bathroom on a Tuesday afternoon, and that the fentanyl in that man's system would be traced directly back to a drug bust that Darnell Kendrick had processed 19 years earlier. Darnell Marcus Kendrick was born in 1987 in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. His father was a machinist at a jewelry factory. His mother worked the front desk at a medical clinic.
Damn, she looked like she's an alien. Oh, man. Look at her eyes.
He grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment on Prospect Street. Not poor, but not comfortable either. The kind of household where a broken washing machine meant 3 weeks of trips to the laundromat. After graduating from Tolman High School in 2005, he enrolled at the Community College of Rhode Island for criminal justice. He told his parents he wanted to be a cop. In 2010, at 23 years old, Darnell Kendrick was accepted into the Providence Police Academy. He graduated in the top third of his class. His instructors noted he was detail-oriented and showed strong aptitude for investigative procedures. That patience would later be used for something else entirely. His first assignment was patrol in the Olneyville neighborhood, one of the toughest beats in the city. High crime, open-air drug markets, the kind of place where a young officer either hardened quickly or burned out. Darnell didn't burn out. He made arrests. He built relationships with informants.
He used all that smarts. He was a smart guy, obviously. He used all that instead of doing it for good. He turned around and started selling drugs to people in his neighborhood.
He learned how the drug trade worked from the ground level. By 2014, he had been promoted to the narcotics unit. His supervisors considered it a reward. In reality, it was the beginning of the end. To understand how Darnell Kendrick stole nearly $400,000 worth of drugs, you have to understand how police evidence rooms work. When narcotics are seized, they're logged into evidence. Case number, description, chain of custody. Officers sign in and out. Everything tracked. But evidence rooms aren't banks. They're locked rooms in basements, managed by civilian clerks, processing hundreds of items per week. The key detail: once a case is closed, the drugs are scheduled for destruction. They're supposed to be incinerated, but the gap between scheduled and destroyed can be weeks, sometimes months. That gap was Darnell's opportunity. He figured out which cases were closed, which evidence was in the destruction queue, how to sign in during shift changes when clerks were distracted, and he discovered something else. The surveillance cameras had been broken for over a year. Maintenance requests filed, nothing done. Darnell walked into the...
Why? Tell me why the maintenance camera. Tell me why the cameras hadn't been maintained in over a year and a half. Tell me why they've been broken for a year and a half. These are all things that just add up to crooked cops. Like, they're not recording inside the building. They're not doing this. They're not logging down right. Like, what are we doing here, people? You are police. You're supposed to be in charge of keeping us safe.
That room 27 times over 11 weeks. Each time, he walked out with seized narcotics in his pocket. No one noticed. No one checked. Until Marcus Delgado collapsed in a bathroom stall with Darnell's product in his bloodstream. The first theft occurred on September 3rd, 2022. Darnell signed into the evidence room at 6:47 p.m. during the shift change between the day clerk and the night clerk. He was logged as retrieving evidence for case review. The case he pulled was a fentanyl bust from 7 months earlier. 4 defendants. All had pleaded guilty. The evidence was scheduled for destruction in 2 weeks. He removed 14 grams of fentanyl from the evidence bag. He resealed it. He logged out at 6:52 p.m. 5 minutes. That's all it took. The drugs were on the street by the following weekend. Darnell's distribution network wasn't sophisticated. He didn't run a crew or control territory. He simply had contacts from his years in narcotics, low-level dealers he had arrested, informants he had cultivated, people who knew him as a cop and assumed he had access to
people that
product.
he
He
was
charged
messing
below
with.
market rate, not so low that it seemed suspicious, just low enough that buyers kept coming back. His first customer was a man named Terrence Boyle. Terrence was a small-time dealer from the West End who Darnell had arrested twice but never charged. They had an understanding. Terrence didn't ask where the product came from. Darnell didn't ask where it went. Over the next 11 weeks, Darnell made 26 more trips to the evidence room. He stole fentanyl, oxycodone, cocaine, and MDMA. He sold to at least 7 different buyers.
took
He
after him and
deposited
his
the
old lady.
cash in small amounts across 3 different bank accounts, never more than $2,000 at a time, to avoid triggering reporting requirements. Investigators would later estimate that he moved over $380,000 worth of narcotics.
See, crooked cops like this, they just know the ins and the outs, and it makes them so much easier for them. They have nothing to do but do the wrong stuff. Like they make it easy for them. The drugs are sitting there for 7-8 months after the case is closed. The cameras are not working for a year and a half on maintenance call. They just making it easy for them. Leave your comments in the comments section and let me know how you feel about this case. And think about subscribing while you're there. Let's
During
continue.
this period, and for 11 weeks, no one suspected a thing. In hindsight, the warning signs were obvious. Darnell's
Almost
evidence
3
room
months.
access was unusually high for an officer in his position. Most narcotics detectives signed into evidence maybe twice a month. Darnell was signing in twice a week. His cases had an unusual pattern. Evidence was frequently reviewed right before scheduled destruction dates. No other officer showed the same pattern, and there were the lifestyle changes. In April 2022, Darnell bought a new Dodge Charger,
Can't be
cash.
spending
In
it like
July,
that,
he
bud.
put a down payment on a condo in Cranston. In October, he took his girlfriend to Miami for a long weekend at the Fontainebleau. His base salary was $67,000 a year. No one asked questions. His sergeant assumed he had family money. His colleagues assumed he was living beyond his means like half
Let's
the
stop
department.
making assumptions,
Internal Affairs
police.
had no reason to look at him. His file was clean. The system that was supposed to catch dirty cops had failed completely. It would take a dead body to change that. Marcus Delgado
Wow.
was 34 years old. He grew up in South Providence,
Look at all that
dropped out
family
of
he's got
Central High
behind him
School at
going missing.
16, bounced between jobs, construction, warehouse work, landscaping in the summers. Nothing that stuck. His addiction started with painkillers after a car accident in
As did
2018.
mine.
Within a year, he had moved to heroin. Within 2, fentanyl. He had been in and out of treatment 3 times. His mother had stopped speaking to him after he stole her television to pawn. His younger sister still believed he could get clean. On Tuesday, November 14th, 2023,
Some people
Marcus
just don't wanna
Delgado
get clean,
bought a
but if
small
you do,
quantity of
here's the
fentanyl from a
contact
dealer
information.
named Terrence Boyle. He used it in the bathroom of a Sunoco station on Broad Street at approximately 2:15 p.m. At 2:23 p.m., a customer found him unresponsive in the stall. Paramedics arrived at
In the gas
2:31
station.
p.m. They administered 3 doses of Narcan. It wasn't enough. Marcus Delgado was pronounced dead at Rhode Island Hospital at
Checked out
3:07
at the
p.m.
gas
He left
station.
behind a mother who hadn't spoken to
Rest
him in
in
2
peace to that
years,
boy.
a sister who had been planning to visit him the following week, and a small baggie of fentanyl
Send
that
my
would unravel a
condolences to
police
his family and
officer's
people.
entire operation. In most overdose cases, the investigation ends with the death certificate. Prosecutors can't charge every dealer connected to every overdose. But Marcus Delgado's case was different. His sister Gabriella refused to let it go. She showed up at the Providence Police Department 3 days after his death and demanded to speak with a detective. She wanted to know who sold her brother the drugs that killed him. The
Facts,
case
I
was
would too.
assigned to Detective Meredith Santana, a 15-year veteran of the narcotics unit. Detective Santana ran the fentanyl recovered from the scene through the DEA's drug signature database. Every batch of
It is.
fentanyl has a chemical fingerprint, trace compounds, cutting agents, ratios that can identify where the product came from. The results came back in 6 days. The fentanyl that killed Marcus Delgado
Quick.
matched a
That's
batch
quick.
seized in a
That
raid
lets you
on
know they
Messer
just
Street
got a
8 months
match.
earlier. 4
Positive match.
defendants. All had pleaded guilty. The case was closed. The evidence was supposed to have been destroyed. Detective
See?
Santana pulled the evidence logs. The Messer Street fentanyl had been signed out for a case review on October
review.
26, 2023, 19 days before Marcus Delgado's death. The officer who signed it out, Darnell Kendrick. Detective Santana didn't confirm confront Darnell immediately.
That don't look
She
sus.
knew that would only give him time to cover his tracks. Instead, she pulled every evidence log with Darnell's signature from the previous 2 years. What she found was damning. 27 evidence room entries in 11 weeks. Lieutenant Camacho ordered a full audit of the evidence room. Civilian clerks were pulled. State police were brought in to ensure independence. Every item Darnell had signed out was checked against what was actually in storage. The audit took 9 days. When it was finished, investigators had identified 43 instances where evidence had been tampered with or removed entirely. Fentanyl, oxycodone, cocaine, MDMA. The estimated street value, $383,000. On December 8, 2023, Lieutenant Camacho walked down the hallway toward the narcotics unit office with 2 state police officers behind him. Darnell Kendrick was sitting at his desk reviewing case files. He looked up. He saw the internal affairs badge. He saw the state troopers, and he knew it was over. The body cam footage from that hallway would later be played at Darnell's trial.
I know that
Officer
feeling. Your
Kendrick,
heart
we need
just
to talk.
drops.
Darnell's hand
Like
went
they
up
got me.
instinctively. Whoa, what's going on? Evidence room, your access card, 27 entries in 11 weeks. You want to explain that? For a moment, Darnell tried to hold his composure. I was logging seized property. That's part of my job. Lieutenant Camacho stepped closer. Logging it or taking it home. Darnell's back was against the wall. Literally. I don't know what you're trying to say. I'm saying Marcus Delgado is dead. Fentanyl overdose.
Of you.
And the batch that killed him traces back to evidence you signed out 3 weeks ago. The footage shows Darnell's expression collapse. His shoulders drop. His eyes go to the floor. I want a lawyer, he said.
Busted.
Those were the last words he spoke to his colleagues. With Darnell in custody, investigators turned their attention to his finances. They subpoenaed records from 3 banks.
I know
What
he's
they
got a
found
gold
was a
rollie on.
roadmap of his operation. Between September 2022 and November 2023,
know it's
Darnell
not the
had
Grand Yacht
deposited
Master.
$147,000 in cash across multiple accounts, never more than $2,000 at a time,
baby.
always in different branches, always in person. He had paid cash for a $38,000 Dodge Charger. He had put $45,000 down on a condo. He had
Feel
taken
good,
4
don't it? It
vacations
feel good,
totaling
don't it?
over $18,000 in expenses. His declared income for the same period was $71,400. The math didn't add up. It wasn't even close. Investigators also tracked down Darnell's distribution network. Terrence Boyle was arrested on December 12th, 2023, 4 days after Darnell. Faced with federal drug trafficking charges, he cooperated immediately. He told investigators that he had been buying from Darnell for over a year. He described the arrangement, the prices, the meeting locations. He provided text messages that corroborated every transaction.
Wow.
I knew he was
Dummies,
a cop,
man.
Terrence said in his recorded statement. That's why I trusted him. I figured if a cop was selling it, it had to be clean. The irony was brutal. The drugs Terrence bought from a police officer were the same drugs that police had seized from other dealers. The same drugs that were supposed to have been destroyed. The same drugs that killed Marcus Delgado. 5 other buyers were identified. 3 cooperated. 2 fled the state and were later apprehended. All of them confirmed the same thing. They had been buying narcotics from a Providence police officer for months, sometimes years. The most damaging evidence came from Darnell's personal phone. He had used a separate device for his drug business, a prepaid Samsung he bought at a Walmart in Warwick. He thought it was untraceable. He was wrong. Investigators recovered the phone from his condo during the search. The messages on it left no room
There's a
for
reason
doubt.
people
Terrence,
still use
October
flip
14th,
phones. You hear me?
2023.
There's a reason.
You good for this weekend? Yeah, same spot. Got something stronger this time. How strong? Lab tested. This is the real deal. Where are you getting this stuff, man? Don't worry about it. Just know it's clean. Lab tested. The real deal. Clean. Darnell was describing drugs he had stolen from the evidence room. Drugs that had been seized from the street, tested by crime labs, and logged as evidence. He was selling narcotics and using police infrastructure to guarantee their quality. The text messages also revealed something else. Darnell knew the fentanyl he was selling was dangerous. In one exchange from September 2023, he warned a buyer to cut it heavy because the product was too hot to use straight. He knew. He sold it anyway, and Marcus Delgado paid the price. January 19th, 2024, he faced 11 counts: theft from a law enforcement evidence facility, distribution of controlled substances, conspiracy, money laundering, and the charge that carried the most weight, distribution of a controlled substance resulting in death. That charge alone carried a mandatory minimum of 20 years. His attorney, public defender Claudia Vega, filed motions to suppress the text messages, denying
like a 5
Judge
to
Raymond
25
Foster
or some
ruled
shit.
the evidence was legally obtained. The trial began on June 3, 2024. Prosecutors called 14 witnesses over 5 days. Detective Meredith Santana testified about the investigation, the evidence logs, the drug signature match. Terrence Boyle testified about buying from Darnell for over a year, the locations, the prices, the text messages. A DEA chemist testified the fentanyl in Marcus Delgado's system was a 94.7% match to the Messer Street batch, the same batch Darnell signed
can't
out
get much
19
closer than that,
days
can
before
you?
Marcus died. And Gabriela Delgado testified about her brother. He wasn't just some addict, she told the jury. He was my brother. He was trying to get clean, and this police officer sold him the poison that killed him. She looked directly at Darnell. How do you sleep at night? Darnell stared at the table. On June 11th, 2024,
That's
after
your
6
get back
hours of
time right there.
deliberation,
That's
the
how you
jury
gotta cuss 'em
returned
out.
guilty on all 11 counts. Sentencing came September 6th. Prosecutors asked for 22 years. Defense asked for the minimum. Judge Foster delivered his ruling. Mr. Kendrick, you took an oath to protect and serve. You were given access to a system built on trust, and you exploited that access to enrich yourself and poison your own community. The drugs you stole were seized to keep them off the streets. You put them back, and one of those people is dead because of your greed. Darnell Kendrick was sentenced to 204 months in federal prison, 17 years. He will be eligible for release in 2041. He will be 54 years old. Darnell was designated to FCY Fort Dix in New Jersey. Like most former law enforcement inmates, he was immediately placed in protective custody. Cops don't fare well in general population. His mother visits monthly. His girlfriend stopped coming after the third visit. His colleagues don't speak about him. His badge was confiscated. His pension forfeited. His name removed from the department's commendation wall. Darnell Kendrick doesn't exist to the Providence Police Department anymore. He's just case number 2024-CR-00147. The Kendrick case exposed failures that went far beyond one corrupt officer. The evidence room cameras had been broken for 14 months. Maintenance requests had been filed and ignored. No one had followed up. Evidence logs were reviewed manually, once a quarter. No automated system flagged unusual access patterns. No one noticed that Darnell was signing in twice as often as any other detective, and the destruction backlog for seized narcotics had grown to over 18 months. Drugs sat in storage, waiting to be incinerated, while officers with access cards walked in and out unchecked. Within 60 days of Darnell's sentencing, the Providence Police Department announced sweeping reforms. New surveillance systems were installed in the evidence room. Access logs were automated, with alerts triggered by unusual patterns. The destruction backlog was cleared. External audits were scheduled quarterly. Lieutenant Frank Camacho, who had led the internal affairs investigation, was promoted to captain and placed in charge of a new evidence integrity unit. What happened here was a systemic failure, Captain Camacho said at a press conference. One officer exploited weaknesses that should never have existed. We are committed to ensuring it never happens again. Gabriela Delgado attended every day of the trial. She watched the evidence presented. She listened to the testimony. She heard her brother described as a statistic, an overdose victim, a casualty of the opioid crisis, poisoned by someone who swore an oath to protect him. She paused. 17 years isn't enough. It will never be enough, but at least he's off the street.
And now, do you think 17 years was enough? I don't think so. I think he deserved way more time than this. But leave it in the comment section below and let me know how you felt about what you just watched and how much time do you think this man deserves. Leave it in the comment section and I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace. Make sure you like one of these videos up here. Check them out. They're pretty good. They'll make you laugh.